there is something deeply wrong with the way we eat. Right now, over 98 million Americans are pre-diabetic. That's 1 in 3 adults walking around with blood sugar levels high enough to damage their organs, nerves, and blood vessels. Another 37 million have full-blown type 2 diabetes. The numbers are climbing every year, and doctors treat it like it's inevitable, like it's just what happens when you get older. But here's what nobody talks about. For over 1,000 years, medieval peasants ate every single day, 3 meals, sometimes more, and type 2 diabetes didn't exist. These were people doing brutal physical labor, living in harsh conditions, with no access to modern medicine. Yet their blood sugar stayed stable, their weight stayed healthy, and they lived without the chronic diseases that are killing us today. What did they know that we've completely forgotten? The answer isn't what you think. It's not about eating less. Medieval peasants ate plenty. It's about what they ate, when they ate it, and how their bodies processed it. And when you see the difference, you'll understand why modern food isn't food anymore. It's a slow-acting poison that your body was never designed to handle. In 1986, a team of researchers from Cambridge University did something remarkable. They analysed over 800 skeletons from medieval grave sites across England, dating from 1100 to 1500 AD. They were looking for signs of metabolic disease, bone deformities caused by diabetes, tooth decay patterns, and markers of chronic inflammation. What they found shocked them. Out of 800 individuals, they found 0 evidence of diabetes, not a single case. They found malnutrition in some skeletons, injuries, infections, but no diabetes, no insulin resistance, no metabolic syndrome. These were common people. Farmers, labourers, craftsmen. They weren't wealthy. They didn't have access to elite diets or special foods. They ate what grew locally, what they could afford, and what tradition taught them to eat. And their bodies functioned the way bodies are supposed to function. Compare that to today. If you walked into any room with 800 Americans over the age of 45, roughly 300 of them would be pre-diabetic or diabetic. That's a biological catastrophe, and it didn't happen by accident. Before we go further, drop a comment. Have you been told you're pre-diabetic or diabetic, or someone close to you? What did your doctor say was the cause? Let us know, because what you're about to learn will challenge everything you've been told about blood sugar and diet. The first major difference is the type of grain medieval people ate. Bread was the foundation of the medieval diet. A peasant could eat a pound or more of bread per day. That sounds like a lot of carbs, and it is. But here's the key. The grain they used was completely different from what we eat today. Medieval wheat was an ancient variety called einkorn or emmer. These are old grains with a different genetic structure than modern wheat. Einkorn has 14 chromosomes. Modern wheat has 42. That difference matters enormously. Modern wheat has been bred over the past 60 years to have a much higher gluten content, to rise faster, to grow shorter so it doesn't fall over in the wind, and to produce higher yields per acre. But these changes also made it digest differently. Modern wheat breaks down into glucose incredibly fast. When you eat a slice of modern white bread, your blood sugar spikes higher and faster than if you ate pure table sugar. That's not an exaggeration. Studies have measured the glycemic response, and white bread scores higher than a candy bar. Medieval wheat was different. Einkorn and emmer break down slowly. The starches are bound in a tighter matrix. Your digestive enzymes have to work harder to access the glucose, so it's released gradually over hours instead of all at once. This means no blood sugar spike, no insulin surge, no crash an hour later that makes you hungry again. Medieval peasants ate large amounts of bread and felt full for hours because the energy was released steadily. Their pancreas didn't have to dump massive amounts of insulin to deal with a glucose flood. Over a lifetime, this difference is everything. Constant insulin spikes exhaust your pancreas, damage your cells, and eventually lead to insulin resistance, the precursor to diabetes. Steady, slow glucose release keeps your system balanced and healthy. We traded that balance for convenience and yield. Modern wheat grows faster and cheaper, but it's destroying our metabolic health. Then there's the way the grain was processed. Medieval bread was made from whole grain flour, stone ground, often with bits of bran and germs still in it. Nothing was removed. You ate the entire kernel. That meant fiber, lots of fiber. Fiber slows digestion. It forms a gel in your stomach and intestines that delays the absorption of glucose. It feeds your gut bacteria, which produce short-chain fatty acids that improve insulin sensitivity. Medieval bread had 8 to 12 grams of fiber per serving. Modern white bread? Less than 1 gram. Even whole wheat bread today is made from flour that's been milled so fine it behaves almost like white flour. The bran is pulverized into dust. It doesn't slow digestion the way coarse, intact fiber does. The result is that modern bread, even the brown kind that looks healthy, hits your bloodstream almost as fast as refined sugar. Medieval peasants also ate bread that had been fermented. Not the quick-rise yeast we use today. They used sourdough starters, wild yeast and bacteria that fermented the dough for 12 to 24 hours before baking. This fermentation did 2 things. First, it broke down some of the starches and made the bread easier to digest. Second, it lowered the glycemic index. Fermented bread releases glucose more slowly than non-fermented bread made from the same flour. Studies done in the early 2000s compared sourdough to standard bread and found that sourdough caused a 25% lower blood sugar spike. Medieval bakers didn't know the science, but they knew from experience that slow fermented bread tasted better, lasted longer, and kept you full. They were accidentally optimizing their food for metabolic health. Now let's talk about what medieval peasants didn't eat. Sugar. They had almost none. Honey was the only concentrated sweetener, and it was expensive. A peasant family might have a small pot of honey that lasted months, used sparingly on special occasions. The rest of the time, food was not sweet. Vegetables, grains, meat, fish, dairy. None of it was sweetened. Compare that to today. The average American eats 77 grams of added sugar per day. That's 19 teaspoons every single day. It's hidden in bread, sauces, soups, salad dressings, yogurt, cereal, drinks. You're eating sugar in foods you don't even think of as sweet, and your body cannot handle it. Humans did not evolve to process 77 grams of pure sugar daily. When you eat that much sugar, your liver gets overwhelmed. It converts the excess into fat and stores it in your liver and around your organs. This is called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and it's now epidemic in the United States. Fatty liver leads directly to insulin resistance and diabetes. Medieval peasants didn't have this problem because they weren't drowning their livers in fructose every single day. Let's talk about beverages. Medieval peasants drank water, small beer, which was a very weak fermented barley drink with less than 2% alcohol, and occasionally milk. That's it. No sodas, no fruit juices, no energy drinks, no lattes with flavored syrups. When you drink sugar, it hits your bloodstream faster than when you eat it because there's no fiber, no fat, no protein to slow it down. A can of soda delivers 39 grams of sugar directly into your blood in minutes. Your pancreas panics and floods your system with insulin. This happens multiple times a day for millions of people. It's a metabolic assault. Medieval peasants drank beverages that had 0 or near 0 sugar. Their blood sugar stayed stable all day, every day, for their entire lives. Next is meal timing and frequency. Medieval peasants ate 2 to 3 meals a day. Breakfast, if they ate it, was simple. Bread, maybe some cheese or leftovers. The main meal was midday, after several hours of work. They called it dinner, and it was the largest meal of the day. Then a lighter supper in the evening. Between meals, they ate nothing. No snacks, no grazing, no constant eating. This pattern gave their bodies long breaks between meals, periods where insulin levels dropped, fat could be burned, and cells could rest and repair. Modern eating is the opposite. We eat breakfast, then a snack, then lunch, then another snack, then dinner, then dessert, then maybe a late night snack. We're eating from the moment we wake up until we go to bed. Insulin is constantly elevated. Your body never gets a chance to burn fat or reset. This constant eating, even if the food was healthy, keeps insulin high and drives insulin resistance. Medieval eating patterns naturally supported metabolic health. They didn't snack because food was work to prepare, and you ate when the meal was ready. That accidental fasting between meals was one of the most powerful things they did for their health. Let's talk about vegetables. Medieval peasants ate a lot of them. Cabbage, onions, leeks, turnips, peas, beans, kale, carrots. These were boiled, baked, or made into thick stews. Vegetables were cheap, filled you up, and stretched expensive ingredients like meat. A typical peasant meal was a big bowl of pottage, a thick stew made from vegetables, grains, and a little bit of meat or fat for flavor. This was eaten with coarse bread. The vegetables provided fiber, vitamins, and minerals. But more importantly, they provided bulk without calories. You felt full without overloading your system with glucose. Modern diets are the opposite. High calorie density, low fiber. A fast food meal can deliver 1,200 calories in a few bites and leave you hungry an hour later because there's no fiber, no bulk, nothing to signal your brain that you're actually full. Medieval food had volume. A bowl of pottage was physically large. It took time to eat, and it kept you full for hours. You weren't driven to snack because your stomach was actually full and your blood sugar was stable. Now let's address meat. Medieval peasants ate meat, but not every day. Meat was expensive. A chicken, a pig, a cow represented significant wealth, so meat was used carefully. A family might slaughter a pig in the fall and preserve the meat with salt, smoking, or curing. That pig would last months. They'd eat small amounts of meat mixed into stews, used for flavour, not as the main component of every meal. Compare that to today, where people eat meat 2 or 3 times a day. Breakfast sausage, a deli sandwich for lunch, a steak for dinner. The problem isn't meat itself, it's the quantity and the type. Medieval meat came from animals that grazed on pasture, ate grass, moved around. The fat composition was different, higher in omega-3 fatty acids, lower in inflammatory omega-6. Modern factory-farmed meat comes from animals fed grain, often corn and soy, kept in confined spaces, and given antibiotics. The fat is heavily skewed toward omega-6, which promotes inflammation. Chronic inflammation is a major driver of insulin resistance. Medieval peasants ate small amounts of high-quality meat. We eat large amounts of low-quality meat. That difference compounds over decades. Then there's dairy. Medieval peasants consumed dairy, but it was raw, unpasteurized, and usually fermented. Cheese, buttermilk, curds. Fresh milk spoiled quickly, so it was usually turned into something that would last. Fermentation reduces lactose, the sugar in milk, and adds beneficial bacteria. Cheese has almost no lactose. It's pure fat and protein. Fat and protein don't spike blood sugar. Medieval dairy was a stable, blood sugar-friendly food. Modern dairy is different. It's pasteurized, homogenized, and often low-fat. When you remove the fat, you're left with more lactose, which is sugar. Skim milk has more sugar per serving than whole milk because the fat has been removed. Flavored yogurts are loaded with added sugar. A single serving of fruit-flavored yogurt can have 20 grams of sugar. Medieval peasants ate full-fat fermented dairy with 0 added sugar. We eat low-fat sweetened dairy products that spike blood sugar. Another metabolic disaster disguised as health food. Let's talk about legumes. Beans, lentils, peas. These were staples of the medieval diet. Cheap, filling, and packed with protein and fibre. A bowl of lentil stew with bread was a complete meal. Legumes have a low glycemic index. They release glucose slowly and steadily. They also contain resistant starch, a type of carbohydrate that your body can't fully digest. Resistant starch feeds your gut bacteria and improves insulin sensitivity. Medieval peasants ate legumes almost daily. Modern Americans eat them rarely. We've replaced beans with pasta, rice, and bread made from refined grains. Even when we do eat beans, they're often canned with added sugar and salt. The shift away from legumes is one of the most underappreciated dietary changes in the past century. Legumes are one of the best foods for blood sugar control, and we've nearly eliminated them from our diet. Physical activity is part of the story, but not the way you think. Yes, medieval peasants worked hard, farming, hauling, building, walking miles every day. But the key isn't just that they burned calories, it's that their muscles were constantly active. When your muscles contract, they pull glucose out of your bloodstream without needing insulin. This is called non-insulin mediated glucose uptake. The more active your muscles are throughout the day, the better your body handles glucose. Medieval peasants didn't sit for 8 hours, then go to the gym for 30 minutes. They moved continuously all day long. Modern sedentary life means your muscles aren't pulling glucose out of your blood. It just sits there, bathing your cells in sugar, forcing your pancreas to work overtime. Exercise helps, but it can't fully compensate for 10 hours of sitting. Movement needs to be constant, not intense and brief. Another factor no one talks about is sleep. Medieval peasants went to bed when it got dark and woke with the sun. No artificial light, no screens, no blue light disrupting melatonin. Sleep is critical for blood sugar regulation. Poor sleep causes insulin resistance within days. One night of bad sleep can reduce your insulin sensitivity by 25%. Medieval peasants got deep restorative sleep every night, because their environment supported it. They're chronically sleep-deprived, staring at screens until midnight, drinking caffeine to stay awake, then wondering why our blood sugar is out of control. Sleep deprivation is a major, underappreciated driver of the diabetes epidemic. Let's talk about stress. Medieval life was hard, but it had a rhythm. Work during the day, rest at night, seasonal cycles. Harvest, winter rest, spring planting. There were no emails, no 24-hour news cycles, no financial markets crashing while you sleep. Chronic psychological stress raises cortisol, which raises blood sugar and promotes insulin resistance. Modern life is a constant low-grade stressor. Financial pressure, work demands, information overload, social comparison on social media. Your body is in a perpetual state of fight or flight. Cortisol stays elevated. Blood sugar stays elevated. Over years, this wears your system down. Then there's the food supply itself. Medieval food was local. It came from within a few miles of where you lived. It was seasonal. You ate what was available that month, and it was whole. Nothing was processed, refined, or chemically altered. Modern food is industrialized, grown thousands of miles away, picked unripe, shipped in refrigerated trucks, sprayed with preservatives, and engineered for shelf life, not nutrition. The nutrient density has collapsed. A modern tomato has a fraction of the vitamins and minerals it had 50 years ago because the soil is depleted and the varieties are bred for appearance and durability, not nutrition. Medieval food was nutrient-dense because the soil was healthy, the plants were grown slowly, and nothing was bred for convenience. When your food is nutrient-poor, your body stays hungry. You eat more, trying to get the nutrients you need, but you just get more empty calories. This drives overeating and weight gain, which drive insulin resistance. The most disturbing part of this story is that the medical establishment treats diabetes as inevitable. They tell you to manage it, not reverse it. They prescribe medications that lower your blood sugar artificially, but do nothing to fix the underlying problem, and they never talk about what medieval peasants ate or how they lived. Why? Because the solution isn't profitable. You can't patent vegetables, whole grains, and long walks. But you can patent drugs. So the system pushes drugs and tells you diabetes is genetic, it's aging, it's bad luck. It's none of those things. It's the food, it's the lifestyle. And both can be changed. If you want to eat like a medieval peasant, here's what you do. Eat whole grains, real minimally processed grains. If you can find einkorn or emmer flour, use it. If not, buy the coarsest whole grain flour you can and make sourdough. Let it ferment for 24 hours. Eliminate added sugar. Completely. No sodas, no sweetened foods, no hidden sugars in sauces. If it tastes sweet and it's not fruit, don't eat it. Eat vegetables at every meal. Big portions. Fill half your plate. Eat legumes daily. Beans, lentils, chickpeas. They're cheap and powerful. Eat meat sparingly, a few times a week, not every meal. Choose pasture-raised if you can. Eat full-fat dairy, preferably fermented. Cheese, plain yogurt, kefir. Stop snacking. Eat 2 or 3 meals a day and nothing in between. Move constantly. Walk, work with your hands, stay active all day. Not just a gym session. Sleep when it's dark. Turn off screens, get blackout curtains, prioritize 8 hours. Reduce stress, disconnect from the news cycle, spend time in nature, build community. These aren't extreme measures. This is how humans lived for millennia. And it worked. The science backs this up. Studies on traditional diets, Mediterranean, Okinawan, hunter-gatherer, all show the same thing. When people eat whole, unprocessed foods and live active lives, diabetes is virtually non-existent. But when they adopt a Western industrial diet, diabetes explodes within a generation. It's happened in every population it's been tested in. The Japanese had almost no diabetes until they started eating Western food. The Pima Indians in Arizona had no diabetes when they ate their traditional diet. Then they switched to flour, sugar, and processed food, and now over 50% are diabetic. It's not genetics, it's the food. If you're getting value from this, hit that like button and subscribe. We're pulling back the curtain on the lies the food industry and medical system tell you. The medieval peasant sitting at his table with bread, vegetables, stew, and water wasn't suffering. He was healthy. His body worked the way it was designed to. He didn't count calories, track macros, or take medications. He just ate real food, worked hard, and lived. That's not primitive, that's wisdom. We traded that wisdom for convenience, and it's killing us. Every piece of metabolic research points to the same conclusion. Whole foods, steady blood sugar, movement, sleep, and low stress. That's the formula. Medieval peasants lived it without knowing why. We know why, but we're not living it. Question is, will you? Subscribe, and let's keep digging.